Hello, and welcome to the Full Send Half Mast Podcast, episode 23. We're here to talk about some racing tonight. Sorry that we did not do it on our normal Tuesday plan. I hope you guys all had a great Independence Day, celebrating America. I'm here with Tom. How are you doing tonight, Tom? Ready to talk about some racing?
Hey, man. Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. That's an easy fix. We'll have that fixed here in about 2 seconds. Seems like you can never prepare for the technological problems that always seem to bother us here. I think we should be good now. All right, so this weekend, we saw races at the Chicago Street Course for Xfinity Cup. We saw the Formula One Australian Grand Prix. We saw IndyCar at Mid-Ohio, as well as an ARCA West race there at Irwindale, and the 24 hours of Spa with the GT3 cars. So we're going to go over all of the races this weekend to start. We're also going to do our infamous Driver of the Week segment, which we got some good nominees. Bonehead of the Week segment, which is, we got some great nominees there. We'll go over our Radioactive of the Week, and then we'll preview all the races that are going to happen this weekend as well. But before we start, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor, W Energy Blends. W Energy Blends, introducing Neurofactor, an all-natural coffee cherry extract to help fuel you with energy, laser focus, and fast reflexes. Provides concentration with important amino acids and vitamins without the crash that ordinary canned energy drinks just cannot provide. Try amazing flavors such as Dragonade, Dub Sludge, Galaxy Grenade, and my personal favorite, Beach and Peach. Buy the starter pack today, including 2 flavors and a shake cup for an extremely low price. Follow the link in the description and use promo code DEGABOYS for 10% off your order. Thanks to W for your continued sponsorship of Dega Boys Broadcasting. All right. So we're first off going to go over the news here. We got a little bit of news. We also have Daniel Ricciardo rumored to potentially be taking an AlphaTauri ride in 2024 to replacing De Vries. What are your thoughts? I'm a huge Daniel Ricciardo fan. When I first started watching F1, I followed Daniel Ricciardo. He's one of my favorite guys to watch. What are your thoughts on Daniel Ricciardo maybe taking a leap over here back in F1?
Yeah, I hope some way he can find his way back up to the top spot with Red Bull. But it's great. I think that he's been screwed over a lot in the past, and if he can get a ride back into F1 and possibly back to Red Bull, that'd be the best course of action to go to AlphaTauri. And I think that they're not even going to be branded AlphaTauri next year. I think they even said that it's just going to be a company-wide makeover or something like that.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. With F1, they've kind of got their limits in resources and amount of teams that they allow, so we'll see. That is pretty interesting to see that they might not even be AlphaTauri next year, because AlphaTauri is still pretty much under the Red Bull banner, so that's pretty interesting.
And it's kind of weird. It was weird when it first happened, when they first switched to AlphaTauri. I thought it was kind of out of the blue that they did that, because it may have been some rule change or something. I don't really know, but what's wrong with Toro Rosso? I thought Toro Rosso was a freaking awesome name.
Yeah, branding is everything. I guess, like I mentioned, we had the ARCA West this weekend racing at Irwindale Speedway, one of my favorite tracks in the United States. One that I want to drive on so bad before my racing days are behind me. So this weekend we saw Trevor Huddleston win the ARCA West race. He's basically a local legend there at Irwindale Speedway. So for him to beat the ARCA West boys pretty much at his home track was pretty cool to see there. And then also in the 24 hours of Spa, Rover Racing BMW with some IMSA guys, right? We had Ang and Yellowly, as well as Whitman, win the 24 hours of Spa. They ran a fantastic race. I don't know if you guys watched it, but there was some great battles in this race between Acura, Audi. We saw Porsche and Ferrari in the mix there. It was some great racing, and BMW came out victorious there in the 24 hours of Spa. Not a whole lot of carnage or wrecks either. It was really the only wrecks were just basically during the nighttime. So that was pretty surprising there with how difficult that track is and the amount of cars they had in that field. It was pretty crazy. And then also news, Cole Custer is going to drive in, I believe, 3, maybe 4 races this season for Rick Ware Racing in the number 51 car. So I know that me and Tom speculated when Cody Ware ended up getting taken out of that ride for his personal issues, that we figured maybe Cole Custer would be a potential candidate for that ride full time. Well, that didn't come to fruition. They've kind of had a rotating door of drivers in that car, and now it looks like they've signed Custer to be another driver as a rotating revolving door. I mean, what are your expectations for Cole Custer in the 51 car? I mean, I have none, so I don't know if maybe you've got
me
any
neither.
higher.
I don't know. Not really. I don't unless it's. I mean, the only way they could make it a little better is if Haas builds the car. But other than that, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't think he has the driver talent that it takes to turn something like a Rick Ware into a competitor.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion. And also some more news. We have Mick Schumacher testing at Portimao for the McLaren F1 team. So I don't know what their idea is here. If they're looking for a new driver, it looks like they're pretty much sold on Lando Norris as their primary guy, and then Piastri really hasn't done anything to really warrant being taken out of that car. So I don't know. It's very interesting to see Mick Schumacher making a test there for McLaren F1. And then also, I know me and Tom just talked about this on the off camera before stream. Formula One's new schedule for 2024 to include 24 races. I mean, how ridiculous is this? That's way too many races for a Formula One schedule, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, these guys are going all over the world, and they're expected to do 24 weekends of the year. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, and the logistics of these teams too. And then, I mean, I talked about it as well. I mean, who wants to see, with the way Formula One's going right now, with the best driver in the series driving the best car, we could see Verstappen and or Red Bull win all 24 of these races next year, the way it's looking now. So I don't know how viable this 24 race schedule is going to be for Formula One, but who knows? I'm not going to complain about more racing, but I am going to complain about quality of racing if that's what it comes down to. So that pretty much does all of the news that we have here for this week that we've missed. We're going to go straight into race reviews. So on Saturday, we had the Xfinity Series, the Loop 121. We saw Cole Custer get on pole. We saw Justin Marks, who I thought was going to be a contender at the end of this. He ended up having engine troubles there on lap 5. We saw Custer win stage 1. And then we saw a caution on lap 17 with Castro making his debut there in the Xfinity Series with that Wuju Racing. And then we saw Lightning on lap 25, and that pretty much ended the race. I guess my biggest beef here, I don't think anybody's even talking about this or anybody even noticed it, but this was a 55-lap race. We didn't get to the end of stage 2. We didn't even get to halfway. And Cole Custer ends up winning a race that basically an unofficial race, right? He wins an unofficial race. So as far as I'm concerned, he didn't even win this race. I mean, I even mentioned to Tom, I was like, I understand that there was lightning and stuff that day. Like, of course you got to end it that day because there was just, you're running out of daylight. But the next day with the flooding scenario, all they had to do was go out and do like 2-3 pace laps, and they could have made it in a halfway an official race and gave Cole Custer the win. That's all they needed to do. Just run him around in the swamp out there for 3 laps under caution and make it to the halfway point and give Cole Custer the win, because that's what they were going to do anyway. I mean, breaking their own rules. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I think it's ridiculous. That's some Big Daddy NASCAR stuff right there, if you ask me. I don't really know what their I don't really know what their prerogative was with that, other than getting the Cup Series started. That race started because they did shorten that race too, but only NASCAR to go ahead and break their own rules to go ahead and do whatever their plan was. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. That's a bad look. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that win doesn't count. It's not a win for Cole Custer. I'll take that one to the grave with me. That one's not a win. Literally, all they had to do, 3 pace laps under yellow in the swamp. It's all. And if Cole Custer was able to fire his engine and do 3 freaking pace laps around the track, then he's the winner. In my book, that would be an official race. But the fact that they didn't even attempt to do that is just, that's ridiculous. That's some big, like Tom says, that's some Big Daddy NASCAR stuff right there. All right, so now we'll go over the Formula 2 sprint race and feature. We saw in sprint race number 1, as Crawford was on pole, And then later on in the race, we saw for sure he ends up wrecking from P2, and Crawford ends up winning the race. Not much to talk about there. It's a pretty straightforward race. Unfortunately, for sure, though, wrecking from P2, that took away his podium. But redemption the next day, right? We saw Victor Martins on pole, and then we saw for sure actually get cycle to the lead there late in that race and have to hold off Iwasa on the final lap. Just an incredible battle between those two. For sure ends up redeeming himself and gets the win in Formula 2 feature race. So that was pretty cool for him. Kind of shows you how motorsports kind of changes in an instant, right? You could be from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs and vice versa just in a matter of a day. So that was pretty cool for him. All right, now we'll talk about the Formula 1 race, right? The Austrian Grand Prix. We saw Verstappen on pole again. I mean, just it's a reoccurring trend here. We saw lap 14. My dark horse was Hulkenberg. He ends up retiring from the race on lap 14.
Did you see that initially the FIA gave him a exceeding track limits penalty for him pulling off the racetrack?
I did not see that. That's actually pretty freaking wild. That's some Big Daddy NASCAR stuff right there. Damn. Oh man. So yeah, I guess he gets a exceeding track limits when his car is broken. Ridiculous. This led to a virtual safety car, and this is when the strategy. This is kind of when the race got good because the Ferraris pitted. They were actually able to leap Verstappen here because Verstappen didn't pit again till lap 25, and it kind of turned into a battle there between Verstappen and Leclerc there for a lap. But Verstappen was able to get back to the lead there lap 35, passing Leclerc, and Verstappen went on to win his 42nd career Formula 1 race. And then Leclerc gets P2, so that was probably the best finish that he's had all year. I can't even remember him getting on podium so far this season. So that was a good performance for him. Good performance for Ferrari. Ferrari has just been dumpster this year. It's not even good at all. They're not even in the constructors title talks at all. So that was good for them. And then Perez gets P3. Finally gets back on the podium after just week after week after week of just being absolutely garbage. And then Verstappen with the fastest lap to add another point to his championship total. So is there anything else you want to talk about with the F1 race before we go straight into the points here?
I mean, other than Perez not being on the same level as his teammate and Leclerc just finally getting that position that really he deserves. No, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up right there perfectly. All right, so now we'll go into the Formula 1 standings. We'll do the driver standings first. Max Verstappen, still your points leader here at 229. He's 81 points ahead of his teammate Perez. That's what, 4 races to make that up? There's no way that's happening. So, I mean, unless Verstappen just absolutely forgets how to drive or doesn't show up for the next few weeks, I think it's pretty much sold for him. And then Alonso is actually lost a little bit of ground to Perez here because of Perez's podium. Alonso's still in third, is 100 points behind Verstappen, 19 points behind Perez. So it's looking like it's just about over for the driver's title. And then as well as the constructors, we know it's been over for the constructors for a while for Red Bull. They're 199 points ahead of Mercedes, who's in second. And the battle between Aston Martin and Mercedes is getting tighter and tighter and tighter week after week. As now they are 6 points separating them, as Mercedes is at 178 and Aston's at 172. Stroll's actually been able to turn it around a little bit. I mean, we've given him so much grief this season and just been on his case about not being any talent or having any talent. And I still believe that. I don't know if you still are in the same thought process, but he has been getting some decent points results recently, kind of putting up some point efforts to climb back into this battle with Mercedes for second constructors. So, I mean, that's really all I got to say about that. I don't think he's got the talent, but he has been getting some results. So that's all you really can say. Alrighty, so next we'll jump into the Indy NXT race. This was actually a pretty interesting race. We saw Rasmussen on pole. We know that him and Nolan Siegel 2 weeks ago were just so close in points, and then Rasmussen wrecked there at Road America. Opened the door up for Siegel because he got the win there. It just kind of took the points title there. And then we saw a caution on lap 6 was the Bogle spinning. Not much going on there. That was really the only caution. And then we saw Louis Foster actually take the lead from Rasmussen here with 9 laps to go in the race. We've been harping on this guy. Tom specifically, he thinks this guy's got a ton of talent. I mean, just time and time again, just can't get the result though, unfortunately. Well, today he did. He got the result. But before the race was over, actually, 7 laps ago, your points leader Nolan Siegel had himself a Rasmussen moment from Road America, and he spun, got stuck in the grass, and was relegated back to like 15th. So when it looks like he's got it wrapped up and in control, he ends up having the same mistake Rasmussen has, and now it's tightening back up again between him and Rasmussen. So that's interesting. Thoughts on Louis Foster? You've been riding his coattails here for a while, just like promoting how great of a driver he is. What are your thoughts on him finally getting the dub?
Well, I mean, obviously it's a long time coming, right? Because in Detroit, he really royally got screwed over there. But I think that there's a lot more to come out of Foster, and I think that within the next, I think from here on out, you could just go ahead and say that we could probably see Foster not only on the podium but winning more races. I think this win right here is all the confidence he needed.
I agree. 100% agree with that. Yeah, because it's really been between Rasmussen and Siegel all year. Those are the two guys to beat week in, week out. They're always battling for the wins. So maybe we'll have a third contender here. I mean, really, you got those two battling for the wins, and then the battle from third to like 11th has just been insane in India NXT this year. I mean, if you guys haven't been watching, you guys need to tune in because anybody can finish from third to 11th week in, week out. It's kind of what you would expect from Formula One, but better, way better. So it's pretty crazy.
Didn't Jamie Chadwick get on the podium?
No,
she finished third.
No, she was running there, and then at the end of the race, she just got kind of shuffled back at the end there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. She was actually running good. I mean, I was really impressed with how she was running. And then in the IndyCar race, that's what we'll go over next. The Honda 200 at Mid-Ohio. We saw Colton Herta get on pole. What has this been, like three poles in a row? I can't exactly remember. Maybe it's 2.
I think it's 2.
Yeah, but he's been qualifying up front. Has great equipment. Really, the only incident in this entire race was lap 1. Felix Rosenquist and Marcus Ericsson got contact, and it sent Ericsson airborne. And that was really the only incident of the race. Besides that, it turned into a strategy race, right? We saw Colton Herta and Graham Rahal really were the two dominant cars battling for this win. Unfortunately, both of them had problems, right? We saw on lap 55, Herta goes in, or lap 54, he makes a pit stop, ends up sliding into the pit entrance and messed up and sped through pit road, ends up costing him the win, basically. And then on lap 57, we see Graham Rahal go to make his final pit stop, and he stalled the car. Cost him the chance to win the race. And Palou ends up inheriting the lead and gets his third win in a row and just extends his dominance in the IndyCar racing. I mean, what are your thoughts on... we've been harping on Graham Rahal this year. We just don't think he has it anymore. This is the most, I guess, competitive I've seen Graham Rahal in a long time. And then thoughts on Colton Herta, and then maybe thoughts on Palou's dominance here in the IndyCar series.
Yeah, so huge surprise to see Rahal on the front row. I mean, that really caught me off guard there. And then with Herta, I think he's starting to turn up a little bit. Maybe Andretti found something. I don't know. I mean, Grosjean's was pretty fast at the beginning of this year. We haven't seen much of him at the midpoint of the year. We've seen a couple things from him, but not a lot. But Kirkwood. I mean, he's got the win at Long Beach, but other than that, where's he been? And then who's Dave Francesco? Where's he? I mean, Herta's doesn't have a lot to work with right now. I mean, he's got a very experienced driver of Grosjean with him, but not really that much in IndyCar. But and then he's got Kirkwood to work with and Dave Francesco to work with, but that's not a lot to work with there. So maybe Herta and his team has finally put in the time that they need in order to find something. But I do want to touch on this real quick. Rahal himself wasn't the only one that was fast out of that team. Pretty sure RLL, all three cars, I'm sorry, the 45 and the 30 finished in the top 10. The 45 finished 4th. Mm-hmm. So, it was a huge turnaround for RLL. I mean, they found something too. So that's really cool to see. And then, with Palou, I mean, to put him as a championship favorite is an understatement. I mean, the dude's gonna win it.
Yeah,
I mean, I think so. I mean,
I agree.
I think it's like what he can miss 3 race weekends, completely miss 3 race weekends, and he'd still have the lead. He could miss 4 race weekends if Dixon and Newgarden had some issues. That's insane. You don't hear that. I mean, I think that's even bigger dominance than what we're seeing in F1 right now with Verstappen. I don't. I mean, it's just insane. Insane what Palou is doing right now in IndyCar. If you guys have not been watching IndyCar, holy cow, have you guys been missing out? I mean, Palou is just on a whole new level of just complete dominance. It's just, I can't even put it into other words other than just insane what this man has been able to do on track.
Yeah, to put it into terms, it's kind of like Truex 2016, 2017-esque. Like
yes.
When Truex was on that ride with Furniture Row where he was just winning almost every race, it's like that's what we are witnessing right now with Palou in IndyCar. Yeah. It's insane. And I guess before we go over the points, which you kind of touched on a little bit, rumors that he might be potentially going to Formula One. What are your thoughts on him going to Formula One? What kind of ride do you think he'll get? Do you think he should go to Formula One since he's doing so well in IndyCar and being the man in IndyCar? I mean, what are your thoughts, Palou to F1?
No, I don't think it's a good move. We've seen it with we've seen it with Bourdais, where he went over to F1 after being an even more dominant driver than Palou during his kart days. I think it was kart. I don't think it was the Indy Racing League. But anyways, he went over there and just got absolutely chewed up and spit out. I mean, there's a huge and here's another part. There's a huge stigma in the F1 paddock about IndyCar. And in the F1 paddock, people believe that they go from F1 to IndyCar to retire. Whenever they've had a chance to see an IndyCar come to F1, it's always been a failure. So, I mean, to me, just that stigma alone, you're going to have a really hard time having people on your side. Not only in, like, if you get in some sort of defensive position, but just trying to find a good car to drive. I mean, what is he going to get? A freaking Williams ride? I mean, why would you, or Alfa Romeo? I mean, why would you leave a car right now where you're 4 race weekends ahead of everybody else to go to a car that finishes last every weekend? And I guess the only motivating factor would be money, maybe. But even then, I mean, F1 drivers and the FIA, you have to report your driver's earnings because of cost cap now. And we saw, I think it was the year before or something like that, Yuki Tsunoda is only getting paid like $600,000 to drive that car. So, and Alex Palou is getting a lot more money driving this car. I mean, he's already got a championship underneath his belt. I mean, it's just... No, I think it'd be really dumb for him to go to F1.
100% agree. And it's, to your second point, not just the stigma, but the second point you made, quality of car he's going to get, right? He's not going to jump in and get a Red Bull car next year. That's not happening. There's no way. He's not going to even be able to get a Mercedes or, I mean, as bad as Ferrari's really been this year, he's not going to be in a Ferrari. He's going to be, like you said, in a Williams or whatever AlphaTauri becomes next year, maybe, and that's what he's going to be in. So it would be a terrible career move by him. I would just stay in IndyCar and be the man in IndyCar, especially with the team that he has behind him in IndyCar right now. He's got the best race strategist, I think, on the planet right now. I think this dude is an absolute legend. I wish I knew his name at the top of my head because this dude can call a race better than I can even remember anybody, even in any racing league, be able to call a race. This guy is on it. He just knows. He does the research. He's planned everything ahead of time. And it seems like he has so much confidence in what Alex Palou is doing right now that he doesn't even have to really even waver off of what he wants to do because he knows Palou's going to get his consistent lap times and he's going to put him in position and nothing falls apart. So it's just, this guy is an absolute legend. So I wouldn't want to leave that. I would not want to leave that.
I mean, and 3 race wins in a row in IndyCar. I mean, what's the most we've ever seen in NASCAR? It was 4.
Yeah,
with
and with a few
Jimmy
different
Johnson.
times. Yeah, yeah,
Jimmy Johnson in his freaking prime.
yeah,
With Chad Knaus in his prime. I mean, but for 3 in a row in an open wheeled North American series where we're doing ovals and road courses, that's insane.
yeah,
It's just insane what this guy is doing right now.
yeah. It's crazy, and it's 3 in a row, but 4 out of the last 5. So I mean,
yes.
it's just insane. And he should have had the Indy 500. I mean, we've talked about it. He had that race if VK wasn't an idiot. I mean, really is what it come down to. VK ruined that race for him. And he still drove up to finish in the top 5. So, I mean, the most dominant car, if he just had the track position and didn't have that incident, he'd have probably been 5 in a row with an Indy 500 as well. So, that's crazy to think about. Just absolutely insane. I mean, that sums up IndyCar for me. I don't know if there's any... Oh, we got to talk about points. We'll talk about points real quick. In the IndyCar, your leader is, like we said, Palou, 377 points. To put this in perspective, he is 110 points ahead of Scott Dixon in second. 110 points. It's over. I mean, I just don't see Palou slowing down. And like Tom mentioned, he can miss like 2-3 races and still win. He's in a Verstappen point, and it's even more dominant for Verstappen because he's not in a Red Bull car. He's in a Ganassi car. And his teammate is second in points to him. And Scott Dixon is literally the Jimmy Johnson of IndyCar racing. He is the man. And he's 110 points up on him. And then Newgarden, who's 116 points behind him, only 6 behind Dixon. So it's really a battle for second points in that battle too for IndyCar. So crazy stuff we're seeing right here in the open wheel worlds with Verstappen, and then specifically with Alex Palou. Just an amazing season he's having. All right, now it's time to talk about the Chicago Street Race, right? We and Tom talked about this weeks and weeks in the past, saying how terrible this race was going to be. Just our general consensus was terrible. Last week I came on here and I said I am excited in the sense that it's something new, but I don't have any expectations, and I don't want to really get too in depth with it because we have been talking about it for weeks ahead of time. I guess we'll talk about the race and then we'll go over our opinions, talk about the surprise winner and everything. So really talk about the race because a lot of our bonehead moves of the week come from this race. So we saw Denny Hamlin qualify in pole. He was able to best Reddick and Gisberg in there in the qualifying session, which was good by him. Start the race in the wet. Hamlin really struggled on the first lap there. Reddick took the lead lap 1. Hamlin ended up getting in the wall there. I think it was turn 11, maybe turn 12. I think it was turn 11, where the wettest part of the track there, and really relegated him back. Then we saw an incident there early in this race when Eric Jones slid through into turn, I believe it was turn 4 or turn 6. I can't exactly remember. It was one of the connectors there in the middle. Collected Keselowski, collected Gragson. Then we saw caution on lap 6 with Busch into the tire barrier, got stuck. We saw this multiple times. We saw this with Gragson. I believe it was 3 times. 3 times. Turn 6. Damn, Lyle Gragson, what are you doing, man? It was bad. It was so bad. This was the most embarrassing performance I've ever seen Gragson have. This was terrible. We saw basically at the beginning of this race, to summarize it, we saw Bell and Reddick kind of basically swapping the lead back and forth, just doing what they do on road courses recently. These two guys have been the ones to watch. Toyota on road courses this year specifically have just been dominant. So I didn't expect anything different than those two really at the beginning battling it out. Then we saw really your major incident here besides all of the wall entrances by Gragson. I mean, it was him and walls, man. This dude's trying to drive through every wall NASCAR puts up, dude. This guy is a wall master, dude. It's crazy. The major incident here, though, was when Denny Hamlin wheel hopped, or I guess hydroplaned into Alex Bowman, spun him around, then put Alex Bowman's car in a protection mode, ended up blowing it up. That was really the only DNF in this race early on, besides later with Austin Dillon. And then NASCAR decided to shorten the length of the race because darkness was coming. They took 25 laps off the race. Christopher Bell wins stage 2. He also won stage 1, so really kind of solidifying himself as the favorite here. And then after they shortened the race, a lot of teams predicted that was going to happen. So there's about 9 of them, led by Justin Haley, that decided to pit early before the end of stage 2, before they end up shortening the race. And they all inherited the lead. I guess one thing I thought was funny too is the caution on lap 49, which was I call it the Chicago traffic jam, rush hour traffic. I think we had the whole field lined up and piled into that corner. That was hilarious, right? I mean,
Yeah,
have we seen this in
absolutely
NASCAR
hilarious.
before? I can't remember a time.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that's the first time.
Yeah. I mean, I think we saw something similar to it at Dover when Jimmy Johnson missed a gear from the pole or from the start of the race or
Oh
from one of those late race
yeah,
restarts
I
and piled them
remember
all up.
that.
But that's about as close as it gets. This one, and then the scoring was all messed up. I don't think people were scored in the right spots personally. I think there was a lot of mess ups there, but I mean, really, what are they gonna do? They're racing against darkness and they're just trying to get everybody lined back up. So I get the confusion and frustration there. But again, Big Daddy NASCAR not making the right decisions. Um, and then we had Truex. I mean, Truex this whole race, he had so many spins. It was the most un-Truex S race I've seen in a long time. I mean, Truex looked like a fish out of water here. Would you agree? I mean,
Yes, yes. It was almost, if he had a braking issue, why was he on track? I mean, you know what I mean? Like every time you saw him going into the corners, you saw his rotors just glowing red, and then followed by absolutely pounding the wall. So, I don't think that he was having any parts issues because first off, he would have known he was having parts issues after the first time he hit the wall, but then he just continued to do it. So I don't know if it was just a complete lack of focus and attention on track, or if something else was happening. I don't know, and I don't think that his crew chief would let him stay out there with a broken car like that, and continue to pound the walls. Because what's the point?
yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I think to your point, I don't think it was a car issue. I think it was just driver error all day. I think
Yeah.
he just was absolutely out driving what he could do.
Yeah.
I don't know. And he's been the man on road courses. I mean, it's a street course, but still kind of the same concept. It's just he was not the man this weekend at all. So, um, then we saw late in this race, we saw Gisbergen. This is what I want to talk about next, right? Shane Van Gisbergen driving through the field. He went from 18th to the lead in about 20 laps, or less than 20 laps, like 15 laps, because it was about 20. That big caution happened in lap 54. They put him back to 18th, 75 laps of the race. So, and he got to the lead with about 3 to go. He took the lead, 5 to go, something like that. So,
Yeah.
18th to the lead in 15 laps, and he literally made turn 2 his turn. That was his passing turn. They got to rename turn 2 the Gisbergen turn, man. That turn was his turn. I mean, an absolute amazing drive that he put on. I mean, what do you have to say about Gisbergen coming here? I mean, it's unreal. Unreal what he did.
Fairy tale. Fairy tale. It's just a fairy tale. And one thing I want to point out is I think it was 2 laps ago when he put the pass on Haley. What an amazing display of driver talent that we witnessed on that turn on that day. I mean, absolutely unbelievable what he did with that heavy AF stock car that we just saw him do a double crossover and then outbrake Justin Haley into the corner like it was nothing. I mean, it was insane. I don't like if you guys aren't thinking the same thing I'm thinking, what do you know about racing? Because that was honestly probably move of the year. There is nothing else comparable to what Van Gisbergen did there. That was just insane. I mean, we're talking about Pillow and his points lead. That's cool, but what he did on track was freaking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this on several other podcasts. I didn't put him on my fantasy because I didn't want to jinx him. Every time one of these ringers comes in, I mean, especially with Jonathan Davenport, I was so high on Jonathan Davenport. I thought that he was going to do some great things in this car. And I mean, I guess my expectations were a little too high, or my hope was a little too high, but I had nothing expected for Gisbergen. I thought once we got this race going, he was going to get a couple of these restarts, get just used up and abused, and he would just start fading through the field. And I mean, when that sequence happened where he had to come back to pit and all those guys leaped him, and then that big wreck happened, he's back in 18th. I was like, dang, that sucks. He had a top 5 car. He could have easily finished top 5. He's going to be 15th at best at this race, and that just sucks. And then he drove through the field, and then the move, like you mentioned, I'm glad you brought it up, on Justin Haley was just one of the greatest moves ever in all of racing. It was unreal. I wish Art and Senna was watching that race with me, because that dude would have just been like, just laughing and been like, that is a racing driver, right? That is a man that can do what he needs to do behind the wheel. Because I mean, Art and Senna is one of the only other guys that I would even put in that list of guys that could do what he did in that car. I mean, just insane what he did. And I also do want to shout out Justin Haley here a little bit. I know he was off strategy. I know that he kind of inherited that lead, but his weight, how he managed the lead was just super impressive. I gained a lot of respect for Justin Haley this weekend. And for him not to do what a lot of these younger drivers have been doing anymore, where they just run through people. He raced Gisbergen with a ton of respect. He could have easily, when Gisbergen got past him right there, instead of going to fight back like he did on the outside line, knowing that he wasn't going to be able to make it happen, but putting that effort to do that instead of just driving through the back of Gisbergen like 95% of the other young drivers would have done, I gained a lot of respect for Justin Haley in this race. That the attempt that he made instead of just doing the easy dump and go move was just a lot of respect gained by me. I don't know if you feel the same or not, or
yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah, that was just a class act move right there. I mean, awesome job. And then he wins his first race in his first start. I mean, part of me wants to see him come back, but another part of me wants him just to retire and be one and done, because this dude's got a 100% winning percentage in the Cup Series. He could literally never come back again, and he could be the highest winning percentage of anybody in NASCAR history for life. Like, unreal what this man did. I mean, 60 years since someone's won in their first start? I mean, just absolute insane. The sport's been around for 75 years, and it's been 60 years. So in the first 15 years, obviously you're going to get first start winners, because like the first inaugural NASCAR race, that guy was a first start, first winner. And then obviously you're going to have a few more that's entered the sport a few years later that probably in the 40s and 50s, early 50s. Obviously, they're going to get their first start, first win on tracks that they've raced at 100 times that NASCAR comes to. So you could see it in the early years. You're going to have a few of them. But ever since then, it's pretty much non-heard of, right? Especially by someone that doesn't drive these cars. Like, it would be way different if it was somebody that ran 10 years in the Xfinity Series and finally makes their first Cup start and gets a win in their first start. That's a complete different story. This is a guy that comes from something completely different, a different country in general, and comes in and wins. It's like fairy tale, as Tom says. I agree. This is some fairy tale stuff. This is awesome. I do want to showcase one incident here, though, that happened in this race, because this is close to being almost one of the most bonehead moves of the year. I mean, this is ridiculous. So we'll let the footage roll on this one.
Watching, smiling, thinking about his time in the NASCAR Cup level and the success he had.
Turn number one, Bubba Wallace into Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and into the tire pack. Stenhouse goes. Bubba came in way too hot, flipped Stenhouse, and Stenhouse has buried that Chevy into the tire pack. That's off the end of the front straightaway.
And it looks as though he's stuck. Sure enough, the caution comes out. And the driver did not get the white flag that's out front. That is the only way that the race could be over if a caution comes out with under 1 to go. But that means we'll go into overtime. So a little more racing for the fans here in Chicago and those of you watching. Look at this as Bubba in the 23 slid into the 47. The 47 gets locked underneath the tire barriers in turn 1.
Yeah, Bubba just completely out of line. Drivers left.
I mean,
don't know if the track was still damp or if he was just out of control, but you see
Look at
him
that.
coming in with a head.
That's like a
already
beautiful
spinning
picture
out.
you can have.
Ricky
Work of
Stenhouse
art.
probably has no idea what happened. KO'd from the side.
I see, and he said it.
From on board with Kevin Harvick.
Alrighty. I mean, I watch that every time I watch it. I laugh even harder than I did the time before, because it's hilarious. What is he doing? What are you doing, man? I mean, He wasn't even aimed at the corner. It's not even wet. I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, what are your thoughts? I don't even have a thought. I'm still trying to digest what I witnessed. I mean,
That was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. That was hilarious. I love it. Oh, hey, I do want to bring up one more thing. Okay, so in Australia with the V8 supercars, they drive on the right-hand side. So not only did Shane Van Gisbergen come out here and win the race, but he did it on a side of the car he's not even comfortable with. I mean, instead of having the shifter in his left hand, he had it in his right hand. The proximities that he had to learn of the car, completely different. That's just something I thought of right now because I was looking at his in-car camera and I was like, that's not normal Australian V8 supercars. That's just crazy. That just goes to show you the level this dude is on, and then to go and say what Chase Elliott said after the race was he really came out here and made us all look like crap.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
it's
crazy.
The amount of stuff he had to overcome to just get in the car and race it without wrecking it, let alone win the race, is crazy. It's just crazy.
That's like writing with your right hand your whole life, and then someone hands you a freaking stack of paper and they're like, write a novel, but your right hand's gonna be tied behind your back. You gotta do it with your left hand.
Yeah, right.
Like, what the heck, man? That's crazy. That is absolutely insane to think about. Like, just wow. That even makes it even a more dominant performance. I mean, that is crazy. This dude is going to go down as an absolute legend of not just NASCAR, but of all motorsports. I mean, what an absolute Chad, right? As we say on the iRacing broadcast,
Chad.
This dude is
Absolute
an absolute
Chad.
legend. I mean, I still can't believe it. I've watched the last few laps over and over again, and I'm trying to figure out if it was real or not. Like, did that actually just happen? I mean,
I can't believe NASCAR allowed it to happen, honestly. I mean, you have Justin Haley, who's right behind him. I mean, I feel like they brought out a caution there, towards the end. What was it when Truex spun into one?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. On with caution? 8 laps to go, yeah, it was something like that.
But he just took off. But then you have Austin Dillon coming off the last corner, absolutely clobbering his car, no caution.
Yeah, it doesn't
make
make any sense.
That's funny.
I don't know. I really thought that NASCAR was going to tilt that race in the favor of Chase Elliott at the end there because of the storyline that would be. So it was like when those cautions were coming out or when they weren't coming out, it was all into benefit Chase Elliott at something like, because when Austin Dillon wrecks, it moves Chase Elliott to second and he's closing on Justin Haley. Obviously, you don't want the caution to come out there because he's got the run to get to him finally. And then with like when Gisbergen's like in front of Haley, they're thinking Haley will do some rookie type stuff and run through him and give it to Elliott. So that's why they bring out a caution late with Truex. It's like, I don't know what was going on there. It's just typical officiating.
I'm glad it worked out though.
Me too.
I'm glad 100%, it worked out.
100% glad it worked out. And with him winning this race, look at the amount of worldwide attention this brings to the sport. Because now my expectations is with, and we'll talk about this more with the World Endurance Championship, with Kobayashi running for 2311 here at the Indianapolis Road Course. My expectation for him is now increased, and I bet his expectation for himself is probably increased. Like, the amount of attention that this is going to bring for World Endurance Championship fans or fans of Toyota racing overseas in Asia, like, to see someone else have an opportunity in a great car. I mean, 2311 in Toyota is like the gold standard on road courses right now. This is a great opportunity to see somebody else have an opportunity as well, and hopefully it opens the door for more people across in other nations to race in NASCAR.
Yeah, and I just like to take a second real quick and really just go out and say that I appreciate what Trackhouse has done with their Project 91 team, because now it's catching on. It's gaining traction. 2311. I mean, we're We're getting now more teams are realizing that, hey, this might be a benefit where we get somebody else from a discipline of another motorsport to come in here and maybe we can learn a thing or two from them. We just, have them come in and, you know what? Maybe these guys aren't even paying for a seat. In return, they get a absolute monster load of data, or then maybe it helps and benefits their team. I don't know, but I think that this whole idea now that's coming through NASCAR of bringing other drivers in can have a lot, or you have a lot to thank Trackhouse for.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, I pretty much we'll go over the points unless there's anything else you want to add for the Chicago Street Course. I guess we do need to talk about one more thing. Chicago Street Course, I believe was a success this year. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I feel like this year was a success. Although the one thing I do want to say is I hope that we don't do it again next year, because it will be not a success. If this race didn't have a shortened race and it didn't have that strategy change there, but with the shortening of the race, I don't think this race would have been very good. I don't think it would have been good at all.
Yeah, I think that's what they need to do is make it like a rotating street course. So, like, for example, next year you could race the streets of Seattle. You could go through the autonomous zone there and see how that works out. But, it can't be any worse than Chicago.
No. I think in Seattle, the people you'd have to worry about is those, the chop throwers or what is it? The Chaz, the brick throwers. I think that's the only thing you'd have to worry about.
Yeah.
I think it'd be all right. But they don't have guns in Seattle, so it'd be good. But yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. I think if we did a rotating street course, and then if they could just get the layout right with the city, and if they could just get the lap count right, then I think it would work out. I think when you do a street course race, it's not the length of the race that matters. The length as in longer races. I think shorter races on a street course would work out better. If you can keep them within the 2 to 2.5 hour range, where you definitely now that they don't have stage crossings on road courses, street courses, then it opens up the strategy game and give these teams the open playbook. Like if they would have known there was 75 laps to go in the race in the darkest before then, then that strategy call there wouldn't have happened, right? And they wouldn't have seen those new guys cycle to the front and made it interesting, and then really got to showcase what Shane Van Gisbergen could do. Because when you're running up front like that, I mean, unless you're like absolutely walking the field and running away with it, you're not really showcasing your talent. I think that really opened up the door for him. So, yeah, let's hit other cities. Let's go to Seattle. Let's hit the Northwest. Let's go race some downtown Miami. Let's go run downtown Houston. Let's go downtown Phoenix.
Yes, a great idea would either be, a double header with IndyCar.
Yeah.
And if you even want to go one step further,
F1.
You can do a double header with F1.
Yes.
That would be a huge eyewitnessing of event. I forget a word that would be, synonymous with that, but anyways, it would attract a lot of eyes around the world if you could do a double header with NASCAR.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan. Rotating street course schedule each year. We need no more than one. Just rotate it each year to a different city. Alrighty. Well, we'll talk about points, and then we'll preview the races this weekend, and then we'll go over our Bonehead and Driver of the Week segments after the points, and then we'll preview the races this weekend. So, the point standings in the Cup. Truex is still your points leader at 591. Byron is second, 9 points back, and Chastain is third, 18 points back. So those have pretty much been the consistent guys that have kind of stood out of the group here recently. And then for your cut line, Ty Gibbs has now moved up to 16th in points at 378, 6 points ahead of Suarez, who's in 17th from that cut line. So, wow. Ty Gibbs is a rookie, not winning a race to get into the playoffs, but actually pointing his way in. We don't see this anymore in NASCAR. This is a cool storyline to watch. And he's been getting so much better week in, week out, and silently. And that was the key, I think, for Gibbs this year. So that's awesome. Driver of the Week this week, I want to nominate Brett Moffitt, P4 and Xfinity. I would have loved to see this race go a little longer. Unfortunately, it didn't. I believe that he would have potentially been a contender in this race. He was fast all weekend. So P4 for him. Also want to go, like we mentioned with Charles Leclerc in F1, getting P2 there. That was a big moment for him. And not only for him, I think it was a big moment for Ferrari. So P2 in Formula 1, that'll nominate him. And then you have to. I mean, you just have to. SVG winning the cup race, I mean, unreal. And the way he did it, 100%. This could be a driver of the year nominee, not just the week. So this is awesome. And then our bonehead of the week nominees, all three of them come from the cup race. Noah Gragson into turn 6 3 times in one race. They need to rename that the Lyle Corner if they do go back there next year. And then Bubba Wallace sending it into turn 1 into Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Turning, I think, am I wrong? Was that a left-handed turn or was that a right-handed turn?
Yeah, it was left.
Okay, so he was turning right into a left-handed turn. That nominates him. And then Martin Truex Jr. Just air after air after air. Didn't nominate him as a bonehead move of the week as well. Alrighty, that will summarize all of the races that happened this past weekend. Great weekend of motorsports, although it gets better this weekend. Trust me, this is a full slate of racing this weekend. If you got nothing better to do, just sit down on your couch all weekend and you're going to see some of the best racing worldwide here. So this weekend we have F1 and F2 at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. We got IMSA as well as like the Pilot Challenge Series there at Canadian Tire for the Chevy Grand Prix weekend. We also have ARCA and Trucks over at Mid-Ohio. So last weekend IndyCar and Indy XT were there. Now this week it's ARCA and Trucks. And then we also have Xfinity and Cup over there at Atlanta. And then the World Endurance Championship at Monza for the 6 hours of Monza. So notable entries this weekend. In the Truck Series, we got Sawalich for Tricon in the number 1. Landon Lewis in the 04 for Roper Racing. Marco Andretti in the number 7 Spire entry. What are your expectations for Marco Andretti real quick?
Not a lot. Not a lot. Not
Okay.
A lot.
That's
I don't think you should I don't think you should expect a lot out of him, especially with the next guy we're about to talk about as well.
yeah. Yeah. Connor Daly in the number 41 Nice Motorsports car. So, yeah. No expectations for these guys. Don't even expect them to run up front. And then Jack Wood in the number 51 for KBM again. And then Connor Jones in the number 66 for Thorsport. So we got a lot of ARCA guys doing the double this weekend and running in the truck race. Xfinity, Justin Haley in the number 10 for Colleague. We know how good he is at Super Speedways. In the All-Star Colleague car, we'll see how that goes. And then we got Ty Gibbs in the number 19 car for JGR. And then Akinori Ogata in the number 53 Emerson Gase car there in the Xfinity. And then in the Cup Series, we got Cole Custer in the number 51 Rick Ware car, as well as Austin Hill in the number 62 Beard Motorsports car. Could be a sleeper. Watch out for him. And then in IMSA, we have 9 GTP entries, 6 LMP3 entries, 5 GTD Pro entries, and 14 GTD entries for the Chevrolet Grand Prix. And then in World Endurance Championship, 6 hours of Monza, we have 13 hypercars, 11 LMP2s, and 12 LMGTE cars. So that'll be interesting there. All right, we're going to go straight into our race predictions. So Friday, the ARCA Zinsser Smart Coat 150. Tom, who do you got? Favorite star courses, what to expect?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jesse Love, just because I think favorite to win the championship. And he's a great driver, and he's been just lighting it on fire this year. And then a dark horse, I'm going to go with Tony Breidinger, just because I think she has a lot more talent than we may expect with other drivers in her department. So I think that Tony Breidinger is definitely going to be one to look out for. And I think you're crazy if not.
Perfect. All right. Well, for me, I'm going with William Swalich, and I went back and forth with him and Jesse Love, but week after week here recently, they've been the two guys to battle out for all these ARCA wins. So I think Swalich gets it done. I think he takes it up. And then for my dark horse, I'm taking Frankie Muniz because he has road racing experience. I feel like this is more in his wheelhouse than what they have been running in the ARCA series with the ovals. And I think Frankie Muniz can be a sleeper here to surprise some people here on a road course in Mid-Ohio. And then in the truck race, the O'Reilly Auto Parts 150 Mid-Ohio on Friday. Favorite start course is what to expect. My favorite is Carson Hocevar. This man has proven to me that he is an exceptional talent. I believe he is got a lot of hate for no reason, really. So I'm sold on him, and I believe he's going to win this race. And then my dark horse is William Swalich. I believe that he's going to be riding that high off of that ARCA win, and he's going to do great things for top 5 here in the truck race. Who do you got, Tom?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Raja Caruth because it's Atlanta. Anybody can win, and I think that's...
it's Mid-Ohio for the trucks.
Oh, shoot. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you know what? It doesn't change. Raja Caruth. Yeah, you know what? I'm sticking strong with my picks here. We're going to go with Raja Caruth and Stuart Friesen. Stuart Friesen with his dirt track experience there. It could possibly help him a lot with his road course. With this road course. And then Raja Caruth is... I don't know. I just want to see some good things out of him. And he is a fast driver. I just don't know if maybe he hasn't had a lot to prove himself with yet. And you know what? This weekend could be a real proving ground for him.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm a huge fan of Raja, too. I think Raja Caruth, Carson Hocevar, two of the most underrated. Well, maybe not anymore, honestly. Their performances, it kind of spoke for themselves. So yeah, I like both of them. And I almost did the same thing. I almost thought it was Atlanta for the truck race as well. I had to double take on that one, figure out that it was actually at Mid-Ohio. Because there's so many races going on this weekend, right? It just all blends together if you don't really pay attention, like, on top of it. So, yeah. And I like Mid-Ohio. I think it's a cool track. I liked when the Xfinity used to go there back in the day. They used to put on some great races. And then Saturday, we have the Xfinity Series, Ausco Uniforms 250 at Atlanta. Favorites, dark horses, what to expect. I am going to take Austin Hill. This man has been the super speedway, plate racing, pack racing king. It seems like he's in another planet compared to everybody else. I mean, everybody's in a lake and he's in the ocean and thriving. And it's like, this dude's just going to bring another fast race car. He's going to wax the field, I believe, honestly. And then for my dark horses, PK. I believe that he should have had this race won the first time around if it wasn't for the dunce hack of a driver and Daniel Hemrick turning him there at the end. So I think potentially if Parker Kligerman just has a clean race at the end and he's in position, I think he could get it done easily. So that's my dark horse. Who do you have, Tom?
Yeah, for my favorites, I got Chandler Smith. And I think that if any racetrack he can win at, Atlanta is one of them because it's so wide open. And being in that 16 colleague car, I think it's due time. He gets... Yeah. And then for my dark horse, I'm going to go with Timmy Hill. And you know what? This is I don't know why this happened today, but I was sitting at work typing up some emails, and I was like, what? I'm going to put some YouTube on just so I could have something flowing through my head while just trying to get some work done. And the first thing that popped up was a Timmy Hill underdog like masterpiece. I think that's what it was called. Timmy Hill underdog masterpiece. So usually what I do is I just listen to them and see what's going on. But I was listening and none of it was really making sense. So I put up. But what it was is that every Timmy Hill underdog masterpiece that has ever come out of him. And you know what? This guy and the finishes, really good finishes that he's had with the really, and I can't stress this enough, really crappy cars that he's been given is amazing. And so, at a place like Atlanta, I think Timmy Hill can absolutely not only possibly get a top 10, top 5 finish, but he could fight for a win. I think so.
Yeah, that's a good pick. And the one that I'm surprised neither of us took was Anthony Alfredo. That was another guy that would have been a good pick. I didn't even think about it really until you were talking about Timmy Hill with how good he ran. All right, well, that summarizes that. And then the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series, the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park 120. Not going to make picks on that. Neither is the F2 on Sunday with the Silverstone Grand Prix. But Formula One British Grand Prix, favorites, dark horses, what to expect. I am going to take Verstappen. I mean, that's a no-brainer to win. And then I'm looking at Gasly as my dark horse. I keep taking either him or Ocon, so I'm taking Gasly this time. I believe that he could be. I'm just waiting for him to get a podium this year. Ocon got the one at Monaco. I believe Gasly's on his way to getting one here soon as well. Alpine's been top notch this season. Who do you got, Tom?
Yeah, I've got the obvious for favorites, and then for dark horse, I'm just gonna go with Ocon. I mean, who else am I gonna choose? I can't choose Ferrari because it's Ferrari. Can't choose Mercedes because it's Mercedes. But then who's really better than Alpine? There's nobody really better than Alpine, so I'm gonna go with Ocon, and not for the fact of elimination like what I just went through with in my head, but for the fact that he's actually a very good driver, and so is Gasly, and Alpine has such a good program going this year. I think they're gonna be really, really good next year.
Yeah, I'm 100% sold on this Alpine team. They're awesome. I would almost make an argument they're probably the fourth best team on the grid right now, past Ferrari. I mean, and the only reason I say that is not equipment. I say it because of driver talent. They've got the best drivers.
Well, and consistency.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
that's
with Ferrari, they're all over the board. I mean, you can't give me enough money to predict where Ferrari might finish this weekend because you don't know. You have no clue.
Absolutely zero idea. Yeah,
but
you know they'll qualify up front,
finish,
but you know they won't. Yeah, won't run there.
But you know Alpine's gonna finish from like 8th to 5th.
Yeah,
like or 4th
weekly.
Maybe.
Yeah,
weekly. Yeah,
it's crazy.
So,
alrighty, now we'll do the World Endurance Championship round 5, the 6 hours of Monza. I'm taking the number 8 Toyota Gazoo team with Kobayashi, Hartley. I think that they're gonna win this race. And probably in a little bit of a dominant fashion. They've been really good at the 6-hour races so far this season, and I just don't think Ferrari's going to be able to match what they did at the 24-hour Le Mans. I think it's Toyota's weekend. And my dark horse, I'm going with the number 93 Peugeot. Kind of the same idea with Alpine. I just love the idea of the French team, and plus, favorite looking hypercar. I know me and Tom both put this bad boy together this week.
Yeah, baby.
So, heck yeah, I'm taking them as my dark horse. Who do you got, Tom?
I've also got the number 8 of Toyota Gazoo. I'm just a huge Brandon Hartley fan, so there's that. And then I was gonna choose Peugeot as well for a dark horse, but I'm gonna go real big dark horse here and go with Floyd Van Wall. Just because why not? That's why.
Yeah, I mean, why not? There's no expectations for them, so that's a great dark horse pick. All right, so now it's Sunday, the Chevrolet Grand Prix. For IMSA, we're going to pick the overall like we did with the World Endurance Championship. My favorite is the number 31 Action Express team. I believe them and the number 6 Porsche Penske are pretty much your 2 championship favorites at this point. It's going to be one of those two. And this weekend, I think that Action Express Wheeling Cadillac gets it done. And I'm just a huge fan of their driver lineup. I really like Sims, and I really like Jack Aiken. So I think that they're going to do some good things. And then also Durrani. Durrani's freaking awesome driver as well. So whoever they put in that car pretty much does well. And then for my dark horse, I'm going to take the number 60 of Wayne Taylor Racing Acura. They have just been so miss recently, and I just think that maybe they can turn it around. I don't know. I don't really have any expectations for them. I just feel like if there's anybody to be a dark horse, I feel like it could be them. And that's who I'm taking. Who do you got, Tom?
I've got the number 6 Porsche Penske. For obvious reasons, championship favorite, and so as well with the 31. But I think Penske can get it done this weekend. But then with the dark horses again, because why not? I'll do the 01 of Chip Ganassi Cadillac, because I'm also a huge Sebastian Bourdais fan, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great pick. These guys can't finish a damn race. I mean, between Van der Sander and Bourdais, man, it seems like they wreck everywhere they go. It doesn't matter what they do. So that's a great pick. I mean, it's not like they're lacking the speed. They just can't finish a dang race, man. It's bad. So bad.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, the Cup race, the Quaker State 400. I'm expecting a terrible race. I freaking hate this track. It's the worst track that NASCAR goes to anymore. But I think it's redemption for Keselowski. I believe he takes the win. He was one lap short of doing it earlier this year until Logano stole it up from him on the last lap. So I'm taking Keselowski to win this race. It's just time, man. It's time that Keselowski wins, finally gets that win for his own team. Pretty groundbreaking moment if it happens. This will be a great storyline. And then my dark horse is Centric because he ran so well there earlier this year. He's in a Ford. Fords are going to be good here. This is like the one place that actually Ford stands out at is at Atlanta, New Atlanta, terrible Atlanta, whatever you want to call it. But I think that he's going to be a contender there at the end as well. So that's the only time I'm ever taking him. So don't hold your breath on that pick again if you're a Centric fan. All right, Tom, who do you got?
I've also got Keselowski, because for every reason you just stated. And then for my dark horse, I got Michael McDowell. And you know what? Being in a Ford, first off, is one of the main reasons. But Michael McDowell has really had a lot of performance out of gotten a lot of performance out of this car this year. And I think that going to a track like Atlanta, where it's so dog water, you might just be able to, make that car shine on what you want it to do. So I think that Michael McDowell is going to have, nonetheless, a great finish unless he gets caught up in somebody else's crap. But I think Michael McDowell is going to be a great pick for this weekend.
Yeah, there we go. Well, that does all of our picks. Now we're going to jump straight into our fantasy. Again, 5-driver lineup and then a few matchups. For my 5-driver lineup, I am taking Keselowski because he's going to win this race. I'm taking Justin Haley because this is his type of track and he is showing a lot of momentum as of late. That's how I feel. And then Austin Hill because I have uses. He's kind of a sleeper there, and I think that he's a potential long shot. I mean, he is so good at this type of speedway. You'll see him kick butt on Saturday. I think he'll do a little bit of the same on Sunday. And then I'm taking Stenhouse Jr. because this is his cup of tea. This is type of racing. And then I'm also going to take Logano because he won this race earlier this year. And I believe the Fords are going to be fast. He's in a Ford. That's just kind of what I'm thinking there. So what do you got, Tom?
I've got Blaney because Ford. I've got Keselowski because of reasons stated in the past. I've got Spire, Corey LaJoy. Corey LaJoy because he was robbed of a win a few years back, and I think that it'd be another great time for redemption. I got the 9 car because I firmly believe he's not going to make the playoffs, and I'm just going to use up all uses that I have with him just to get him out of my pocket. And then I've got the 43 with Eric Jones because I think it could be an underdog could win or something. I don't know. I'm using him to get some uses out of him as well because saving all my good characters for the end of the year.
There you go. Alrighty. Well, next is matchups. We got Logano versus Byron. I am going to take Logano over Byron. I put it just because I put him on my fantasy. I have a feeling Logano's going to be up front all day, and I don't know if Byron will or not. And if you're not up front, you're most likely caught up in a wreck. And I just feel like one of these weeks Byron's going to have a bad week, and I feel like it could be this week. So that's why I took Logano over Byron. Who do you got?
I've got Byron over Logano because I think from the first Atlanta race till now, the Hendrick team has just gotten better. And I think that we might be a little surprised on what we see this weekend out of the Hendrick camp.
There we go. All right, next one is Blaney and Elliott. I'm taking Blaney over Elliott. I just, like you said, I don't think Elliott's making the playoffs. I don't want to pick him for anything for the rest of the year. I just think he's an absolute dumpster fire this year. So I'm taking Blaney over Elliott, and that's the only reason.
I'm taking Elliott over Blaney because I think that Hendrick is going to show up this weekend, and they're going to be a lot better than what we've seen with the first Atlanta race. So that's the only reason. I mean, I would be choosing Logano and Blaney, but I'm going real long shot here and I hope it really pays off for me. I really do. If it doesn't, I'll change my picks like 2 hours before the race.
There you go. Next one is Keselowski Bowman. This is easy answer, Keselowski, because I think he's going to win the race.
Yeah, Keselowski. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the next one is Ty Gibbs versus his teammate Bubba Wallace. This is an interesting matchup. I'm taking Ty Gibbs over Bubba because I think Bubba's an idiot and I think he's gonna wreck. And Ty Gibbs has really been doing good recently, so I'm gonna just ride that train right there.
Yeah, me too. Same exact reason too.
All right, well there we go. That's our fantasy lineup for the week. Next we'll do radioactive of the week, and then we will get straight into our outro. The radioactive quote of the week. Whoever guesses, I'll put this at the end of the poll, at the end of the podcast on a post on the community page. If you could guess what driver said this quote, you get a shout out next week's episode. Favorite segment that me and Tom do. This week's quote is, "We don't need this transaxle ever again. I personally request that I get to destroy this blank." You guys can guess which driver said that awesome quote in the community page on our channel. You'll get a shout out next episode. And we've got a lot of new subscribers, so there's a lot of opportunities for you guys. You guys can definitely get a shout out. We appreciate all of you. All right, well that does episode number 23 here of the Full Send Half Mast podcast. Super excited for this weekend. There's a slate of races. This is probably the best weekend besides Memorial Day weekend. This is probably the next best weekend so far of the season of racing. Just tons of racing. I most look forward to the IMSA race personally. I just think what IMSA's product is right now is just outstanding. And plus the LMP3s are racing, and those guys are absolute morons, and so that's going to be the entertainment factor, as well as the great battles that we see in GTP that we've seen all year. It's going to continue, so super excited for that. Not looking forward to Atlanta. Kind of semi looking forward to Mid Ohio with the truck race, and then F1. You're going to get what you get. So big slate of races. I guess that's all I've really got. There might be another thing or two here, but Tom, do you have anything to add with the NSR broadcast side of things? You got anything else to add to the podcast or to what we said tonight?
Yeah, make sure you guys come on in and check out our broadcast that we're doing. We're doing a little bit of restructuring here coming up in the future, but we're still going to be racing on Mondays. In fact, next week is our Monday series finale. So come on out and see who wins the championship. With right now, Javone Thompson is leading the points over Daniel Simmons, Matt Stevens, Jamie Knopf, and Tim Henderson. So, and that's the points order right now. So Javone has a lot to race for. He's got a 12-point lead over Matt Steven in third place, and Daniel Simmons, he's got a 6-point lead over him. So it's going to be a great battle. Come on out, you guys. It's going to be fantastic racing. So make sure you guys are there. And then tomorrow we're also going to be broadcasting. We're doing our short track league there, so make sure you guys come out, watch that. And then in the future, possibly racing Wednesdays or possibly racing Fridays, Sundays. So come on out, check that up, have some fun with us in the booth. Jay and myself will have even more people in there. We're checking to see, with Jared joining us and a couple more, and Donovan as well. So make sure you guys just come on out, have some fun with us, and enjoy the product that we bring you guys. I don't know about you, Jay, but I look forward to every broadcast that we do. It is so much fun.
It's a blast. We have such a good time in there. I mean, and the people that come into the community chat and chat with us too seem like they're having a good time. We interact with you guys pretty much live right there on YouTube. So, and this is the best iRace in the business. We always mention it, but it is just outstanding racing, just wheel to wheel.
And it's true. You know what? We our Monday winner. Alexander Russell came out and said, "Man, you guys are a great group of drivers." I'm like, yeah, I know. I've been saying that for 3 weeks. I'm just kidding. But anyways, definitely come on out, have some fun with us. It is sincerely a great time. Even if you put it on in the background and, listen to us while you're cleaning your house or dealing with your kids or whatever you're doing, just come on out and, comment, like and subscribe, get some features that others don't, and just have some fun, man. We have fun. We have tons of fun. I love it.
Yeah, we do love it. I guess I just want to say thank you to everybody that have recently subscribed. I mean, we've gained hundreds of subscribers in the last 2 weeks. It's actually crazy and mind-boggling how fast everything's growing, and you guys seem to be loving the content. Our crash compilation videos are just increasing in views daily, and you guys seem to love that content. That's gonna keep coming. I've got minutes and minutes on minutes of July crash compilation going right now, and there's some great stuff on there coming as well. And I just really appreciate everybody that tunes in. We're growing crazily. This is my and Tom's dream, right? We just love racing. This is our thing. This is our kick. This is our jam. This is what we do. And being able to share that with you guys is awesome. To get your guys' interaction, even whether it's a hate comment, a good comment, whatever it is, you guys, we just love it all. We love it all. Just keep bringing it on. And make sure to come back next Tuesday. We'll be back on the Tuesday for the podcast. We did on Wednesday this week for the holiday. We'll be back next Tuesday like clockwork for episode 24. So make sure you guys come out and check that out. And with that being said, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share with all your friends. And we will see you guys in the next one. And have a good night.